So we've got a Pokeball going. We've got the little front piece here. So to kind of clean this up a little bit, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Control Shift. I'm going to grab this front face here. If I go into solo mode, you can kind of see a little bit better. So I'm basically grabbing this front piece here. And since we know the normals are correct, if you want to see through this object now, just go ahead and hit double under Display Properties. And now you can kind of see what you're getting here. With just these two faces showing, since they're both the same here, if you want to make those their own unique polygroup, you can go over here to polygroups and then do an auto groups. And because they're not vert welded, it'll go ahead and just polygroup those individually. So now you have one back polygroup, a front polygroup, and a middle polygroup. We can do a little bit of, we can do Z-modeler stuff as well, but one thing we can try is to do some transpose modeling. So I'm going to hold down Control Shift and grab just this front one here. I'm going to Control Tap to mask it, Control Shift to bring everything back, and then Control Tap my document to invert that. So now if I hit E, which is scale, and I click right there in the middle, it's going to find that surface normal. And then if I hold down Control Shift and just drag this little end piece back, it's actually going to insert a edge loop right there. So let's see what we got. Looks like we go in a little bit, and then looks like maybe if we hold down Control Shift and we hit W and then pull back, that'll actually insert. So you can kind of go in between those. So if we go back to scale, and then we'll just kind of drag off to get away from that middle point, and then tap the middle point again, and then hold down Control Shift. It'll go ahead and inset, and you can just keep doing that. Hold down Control Shift, let go, hold down Control Shift, let go, and then hit W, Control Shift, and pull out, and then you can just kind of model like that. And then Control Drag to unmask. This ring right here, what we can do is go back into our Z-modeler brush, hover over this edge, and then do polyloop or polygroup polyloop, and then you can tap that. That'll make its own polygroup. If you tap it and then hit Alt, it'll just toggle through a bunch of different colors. And then now you can hover over that polygroup, do QMesh polygroup all, and now you can just pull that out. So you can kind of just model some detail-y type things right in there. Another thing you can do is with Z-modeler selected, go ahead and select this top face. We'll do QMesh polygroup all. And just for fun, let's go ahead and just pull this back. And then maybe you can't pull all the way through if you want to. I'm just going to pull that back just so it kind of flattens out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is actually take these faces and give me a new cylinder on top of this. Or we can do that. We can actually hover over this and just pull that out. And instead of see how we have two red polygroups right here? What I can do is hover over this and do polygroup QMesh polygroup island. And now it'll only do this red part right here. And while you're pulling out, if you just hold down Shift, it'll just pull all those faces. If you start pulling out and hold down Control, it'll actually pop those faces off into its own subtool. So what we can do is just kind of pull that off, and then you can just keep QMeshing onto a new mesh. Another thing we can do is we can go to Brush BI, and you can do an Insert Cylinder. And now you can just insert a fresh cylinder right on top of there and model this thing to your heart's content. If you don't like that cylinder, let's go ahead and make a custom cylinder really quickly. I'm going to go out of edit mode, hit Control N to clear my canvas, and I'm going to go over here to my Polymesh 3D, or anything, simple brush, anything to get you to this menu. And we'll do a cylinder 3D, drag it out, and just like our sphere, we can go down here to initialize. Let's just make this like a 16, and then we'll make the V divides 3, and then if we like this, we'll make it a Polymesh 3D. We'll snap it to the side so we're looking right at it, because this is the way when I insert it, I want it to be looking at me. This will make more sense when I do it. And then I'm just going to hit B, create insert mesh, new. So now when I hit B again, you're going to see I have a new insert mesh brush that's just this cylinder, oriented just like this. So I'm going to go back to my Pokeball here, and then I'm going to go out of solo mode to kind of orient myself. It's like, okay, here we go. So we're right on the front here. I'm going to B, grab that insert mesh brush we just created, and now we can drag out a custom insert mesh brush right on there. If I want to go ahead and isolate this into its own subtool, I'm going to go into the subtool menu, split. I'm just going to go split unmask points, and now I've got its own subtool over here. I can just click it and then hit W. I can tap on this front part here, hold down Shift, and then with W, move. I can just pull that back here and just kind of hold down shift, and again I'm holding down shift to kind of constrain, so I can just grab this middle ball and just kind of constrain that straight back. So now I've got a little centerpiece here. I've got this thing kind of modeled out. I've got these top things here. I'm good to go. It's got a gray selected. I'm just going to make that a white so you can kind of see it a little bit better. Maybe choose matcap gray. Okay, so we've got a pokeball pretty much made. Now let's go ahead and make sure this thing's smooth correctly. One really cool way to do that is by, I'm just alt tapping through here. Let's take this one for instance. So I'm going to go into solo mode here. And if I want to see what this is going to look like subdivided, what I can do is I go to geometry, and then I can just hit divide, and that'll actually give me subdivision history. If I undo that, Control Z, what I can do also is go under here to dynamic subdiv, and if I turn that button on, that will give me a preview of it subdividing, smooth subdivides 2x. If I turn that off, it'll toggle it off. So it's not actually subdividing, it's just giving me a preview. So a very cool way to work. The shortcut for that is D and Shift D to toggle that on and off. So if I hit D, you're going to see it looks pretty round and smooth. But let's say I wanted to crease those edges because it's really averaging those. It'll make it look like an inner tube. So I'm going to go Shift D, and then I'll go ahead and turn off dynamic. And what I'm going to do really quickly is just go over here to my geometry, and then I'm going to hold down shift and close these menus here. And I'm going to do crease. And under crease, there is a crease PG. That means crease your polygroup. So if I click that and now hit D, you're going to see, if I turn off the polyframe here, you're going to see wherever I had a polygroup, it keeps it nice and creased. If I hit Shift D, and turn polyframe back on. Another thing I can do is if I go over here to crease, you're going to see that there is a crease tolerance. So that means anything that's under a 30-degree angle, it will not crease. Anything that's over it, it'll crease, or vice versa, I forget. Basically, play with this value and then hit crease. So if it's at 30 and I hit crease, and then I hit D, you're going to see, oh, it grabbed too many. It creased these edges too, because I guess the angle threshold caught it. So Control Z that, and then just increase that angle tolerance to maybe 52, hit crease, and then hit D, and you're going to see it give you a much nicer selection. So I'm going to go out of solo mode by clicking that button. And again, your solo button might be down here. And we'll just do that for the rest of them. So I'm going to alt click this one. Now on this one, if I crease by polygroups, let's see, crease, PG, and then we hit D to dynamic preview, you're going to see it actually does a really good job, because if I go into solo mode here, we have a blue polygroup and a pink polygroup here. So where those meet, it added a crease here, so it actually did a great job. So we know we can just click this one, hit crease polygroup, and then we're good to go. Probably the same thing for this one. I'm just alt clicking this middle one here, and if we just do a crease PG, crease polygroup, and hit D, it'll keep these edges nice and creased, and we're good to go.